Hi guys, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, my name is Carmen. Welcome. In this video today, numerology reveals the hidden future of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Will he run for president again? Will he ever become president? We're going to talk about that today in this video. And I actually did a poll on my channel several weeks ago, and this was actually the video that people wanted to watch the most out of all the options. It was like 40% of the people wanted to see a video about RFK Jr. So we're going to dive into his chart today and see what is going to be happening for him this year, as well as what the future has in store for him. Now, the first thing I want you to take a look at is RFKJ's life path number, okay? Because the life path number is going to be like the main lesson that you're learning in this lifetime, okay? It's not your only lesson, but it's going to be your main lesson and your main purpose. Now, what's interesting is that his life path number is a 1, and it's the same number as his destiny number, okay? And the destiny number, also known as the expression number, is kind of like the direction in which you're headed towards, okay? That's why they call it the destiny, because it's like a long-term goal that you're working on, and usually you will achieve at some point in time. And it's the same as his life path number. So his soul really wanted him to achieve the 1 energy, basically, because it put it in there twice as 2 very important key numbers within the chart. So for RFK Jr., there is no way to escape the 1 energy. He has to achieve this 1 energy within his lifetime, basically. And the 1 is the number of the leader. These are extremely bold, courageous people that do things first and show other people that it's okay. Look at me, I'm doing this. And other people will watch and see them and they're like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it too, okay? So these are like the rebels, right? These are the rebels, they're the trailblazers. They're the people that are bold and courageous. They do things first before other people, and then other people follow next, okay, and kind of copy them. So you'll see a lot of people that are in leadership positions that have that have a life path 1, and you'll see a lot of leaders of countries for sure. But you'll also see a lot of leaders of businesses and you know, a lot of entrepreneurs, inventors. Steve Jobs was a life path 1. And like I said, of course, you'll see leaders of countries as a life path 1s. George Washington, the first president of the United States, was a life path 1, right? And he was where it all started, where it all began. So these are the people that are, you know, they don't take no for an answer, you know, and if they get knocked down, they will just come right back up. Like, you cannot keep these people down. If they get knocked down, they will come back up. They will keep rising up despite any challenges that are given to them. They always come to the top. And so he has a lot of this energy within him, right? And like I said, these people are rebels. They're pioneers. They don't care what other people think about them. So you can call them crazy all you want. They know that they're not crazy. They know that they see things that other people haven't seen yet, basically, okay? And that's kind of the energy we have with RFK Jr. He's definitely a pioneer. He's a trailblazer. He's all of those things, right? This is somebody, before he was in politics, he was an environmental lawyer, and he was also a lawyer who helped to take on the big pharmaceutical companies and defend people who had been injured by vaccines. So this is somebody who definitely is kind of ahead of the crowd, right? And that's kind of the way the 1s are. They're always ahead of the crowd, and they're always the people that start trends too, right? They're the first people to do things, and then it becomes a trend after they do it, right? Because other people are like, okay, you're right about that. I didn't see it that whole time until you showed me, right? So they're visionaries, and they're leaders in their own regard when it comes to doing that. Now he's got even more leadership energies going on for him too, because look, his birthday is a number 8. 8 is the number of power and resources in numerology, and that's his birthday. So that's been given to him, right? This is an energy, a gift that has been given to him, is the 8 energy. So to help him to carry out his life's purpose as being the pioneer and the leader, right? And that's also his personality too. So that's the way the world sees him. We see him as being like this very powerful person who has this inner strength within him, who keeps going, you know, despite all of the negativity that gets thrown at him and the people calling him crazy and all these things. He just keeps going, right? And he has a mission. He's here on a mission to really change the world, right? And we see him as this energy. And that's his personality number. Okay, so 2 8s in the chart, 2 1s in the chart. He's got 4 leadership numbers within his chart. So that's this is a very strong person with very masculine energy, okay? 1 and 8, these are very masculine energies. And he has a lot of that for sure, 100%, right? Now, by the way, if you want to figure out any of these numbers within your own chart, I have videos on how to calculate pretty much most of these numbers, okay? So I will link some of them below, and you can also check out my Learning Numerology playlist on how to calculate them and interpret them, okay? And I do recommend that if you want to find out what these numbers are for yourself. And now RFK Jr. also has a softer side to him as well, too, because his maturity number is a 2. And maturity number is who you become as you grow older. Okay, it kicks in after the age of 30, and you become more like this person. So as he grows older, he is becoming more of the type of person that learns how to work well with other people. Okay, that's what the 2 energy is. These are people that learn how to collaborate with others, you know, work with people across the aisle. Let's put our differences aside, right? Let's put our differences aside and let's just work together to achieve things to help everybody, right? Things that we both agree on, and we can come across the aisle and work on those things together. And this is a very peaceful energy too. So he's becoming more like this as he grows older, and more able to just collaborate and work with other people. Now, another thing here too is that his soul urge is a master 11, okay? And the soul urge is what makes you happy. It brings you a lot of happiness when you figure out what this number is. 11 is a number of awareness and illumination, okay? It's a very spiritual energy. And it's all about bringing a message to the masses, okay? It's the number of the messenger, basically. And so, you know, when you see people that have this energy, a lot of times you'll see them as mediums and psychics, right? Because they want to bring a message, like a literal message to the masses, right? Through being a bridge to the other side. So you often see them having an interest in that kind of thing. But there's other ways to deliver a message to the masses, right? And so I think that what brings RFKJ a lot of happiness is being that trailblazer who is that person that is able to deliver the message to the masses from higher dimensions, right? And through that, bring awareness to people about things that they weren't aware of, okay? And before he came along, a lot of people didn't realize the dangers of vaccines, right? That a lot of vaccines have heavy metals and a lot of chemicals within them and can potentially cause a lot of harm and damage, okay? And especially because they give so many of them to children these days, right? 40 years ago, they only gave them a few. Now they give them so many, and at such a young age, right? Almost 30 vaccines just by the age of 2. It used to be that 1 in 1,000 kids had autism. Now it's 1 in 30. 1 in 30. A lot of people weren't aware of some of the dangers of vaccines prior to him coming along. And a lot of people didn't know about all of the chemicals and the junk that is being put into the food by the big food companies in the United States, that they have been poisoning the food. So RFK Jr. has been a pioneer in bringing awareness to both of these issues. So when he does this kind of thing, that brings him a lot of happiness. He wants to be that person who is like the messenger from the other side, letting us know about these things that we were not aware of. What stands out to me about RFK Jr.'s chart is that he has the numbers of a New Earth leader, okay? These are people who are basically born to be leaders of the New Earth. Over the next 10 to 20 years, you will see the planet shifting into New Earth, which will be a much more high vibrational, high frequency, positive planet to be on, right? And I've talked a lot about this shift that we're going through right now. So check out my videos on New Earth. I'll link them below in the description box. But I'm sure you've heard a lot about this shift that we're going through, right? The 5D consciousness that we're shifting into. And there's a group of people that are basically incarnated onto the planet at this time to help us move into that new phase and that new cycle, right? These are people that don't fit into the world that we currently live in, right? They do not fit into this current world because they were born to be leaders of the new world that we're shifting into. And a lot of people have talked about how this will be the golden age of the planet. And we are currently making that shift right now as we speak. But you will see this happening over the next 10 to 20 to 100 years, okay? Now, you can identify if somebody is a New Earth leader by looking to see if they have a combination of leadership numbers and spiritual numbers, okay? New Earth leaders will have both. They'll have some of the leadership numbers, like I mentioned, the 1s and the 8s, but they will also have the more spiritual, softer energies as well, like an 11 and a 2, such as RFK Jr., okay? If you want to find out exactly if you are a New Earth leader, okay, check out that video that I did about this, okay? I did a whole video on how to determine if you're one of these people. So I will link that video below in the description box. But based on RFK Jr.'s numbers and based on his behavior, I would say he's one of these people. He is a New Earth leader. And that explains why he's never fit into this world, right? And why he's always been mistreated by so many people. You know, even his own family members have treated him very, very poorly. And he's just meant to be a leader of the New Earth, right? So he's not going to fit into this current world that we're currently living in, like many of you watching, right? I'm sure many of you watching can identify with this, and I'll bet a lot of you watching are New Earth leaders yourself, so check out that video. Now I have his dad's chart on the other side, okay, Robert F. Kennedy, who was a senator as well as the Attorney General for the United States back in the 1960s. And I have his dad's chart on the other side because a lot of people always say that he has a lot of his dad within him, right? There's a lot of similarities between him and his father. And I wanted to show how the numerology reveals this, okay? The numerology shows that they are very similar in many ways. They have the same destiny, number 1, the same soul urge, number 11, and the same personality, number 8. And that's because they have the same name, right? So a lot of the numbers within the chart are calculated by the person's name. And so they're going to have a lot of similar numbers because they have the same name. Now, when we're calculating somebody's chart, we never use the suffixes in the calculations, okay? So if somebody is a senior or a junior or something like that, you leave out the suffixes. But these two will not be exactly the same, but they'll have a lot of similarities, okay? And that is the case from what I've heard about RFK. I've heard that he was the type of person that had a lot of negativity thrown at him. They tried to get rid of him. They kept trying to knock him down, and he just kept coming up and coming back until his untimely death when he was assassinated in 1968, okay? Now, I've also heard that he was an amazing public speaker, that he was very moving, and he could persuade people very well through his public speaking. Okay, he was a great orator. And so that makes sense because he was a life path number 3, and 3 is a number of self-expression. These people are really good at expressing themselves, okay, either verbally or non-verbally, right? You'll see a lot of really good writers and painters or artists that will have that number as well. But just looking at the numbers between the two of them, I would say that RFK Jr. is here to finish what his dad started, okay? His dad wasn't able to completely carry out the destiny number 1, but RFK Jr. will finish that, okay? I think he's going to carry that out, that destiny number 1. And remember, that's his life path number 2 as well. So he's going to finish what he started, and he's going to carry out the legacy of his dad. Now, what's interesting is that if you look at the pinnacle that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was in around the time of his uncle's assassination, okay, President John F. Kennedy in 1963, as well as his father's assassination in 1968, he was in a 9 pinnacle around that time, okay? He was in a lot of 9 energy at the beginning of his life. He was in 3 9 pinnacles up until 2007. And the pinnacles are like the seasons of your life, okay? Spring, summer, fall, and winter. And they kind of determine a lot of the direct energy that you'll be experiencing during that time. And the 9 energy is all about service towards other people, right? When you grow up in the 9 energy, you really have a heavy responsibility put onto you, and you learn that yourself isn't the most important thing in the world, right? That there's a bigger cause out there to help the world, to help humanity. So a lot of people will become, or they'll start to develop more of a humanitarian kind of focus growing up in this energy, or they'll become environmentalists, okay, realizing that service towards other people or service towards the planet is very, very important. And there can be a lot of endings too, right? Like you'll see a lot of people coming into your life and then leaving, or family members passing away, being taken away from you. That can happen as well in the 9 energy, because 9 is the last number, so it indicates graduation and finality and moving on to another stage. And it can be a very emotional energy too. And there can be a lot of things that happen that put you on an emotional roller coaster. Okay, you feel like you're on a roller coaster. So, and he was in this 9 pinnacle both when his uncle, okay, John F. Kennedy, President John F. Kennedy, was assassinated in 1963, as well as when his father was assassinated in 1968. Okay, and when his father was assassinated in 1968, he was having a 6th personal year. And the personal year is how you experience the energy of the year from the outside. Okay, everything coming at you from the outside. And 6 is the number of family. It's a very responsible energy. And it's a very parental energy. Okay, it's the number of the parent. So 6 being in a 9 pinnacle, we have endings in the family and endings with the parent, right? And then, you know, you having to step up and take responsibility and kind of becoming a parent yourself, or helping out with the siblings, right? Because that can happen during a 6th year, where you have to take on more responsibility and kind of become like a parent yourself. So that's just interesting that we see that combination in 1968. But yeah, so much emotional turmoil and so much loss and grief that this person has gone through. Like, I can't even imagine the amount of loss and grief that he has gone through in his life, growing up in 3 9 pinnacles like that, pretty much most of his life. And, you know, first with the assassination of his uncle and then his father, okay? And I do feel like with the assassination of his uncle, President John F. Kennedy, I do feel like he's also here to carry on his legacy as well. A lot of people don't realize this, but JFK was a rebel. He was a radical of his time. He wanted to get rid of the Federal Reserve and the CIA in the United States. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wanted to get rid of the FBI too. He wanted to get rid of these institutions in the United States that have become very evil and corrupt. Okay, these have become very corrupt institutions. And because he wanted to get rid of them, he had a lot of people after him. Okay, so there were a lot of people in these corrupt institutions that wanted to get rid of him because of this. And I did predict in my video that I did last year about what would happen after the election. I predicted in that video that the JFK files would be released in 2025, and we would start to learn about what really happened there. So if you do want to check out that video, I'll link that video below in the description box as well. But yeah, anyways, hands down, JFK was one of the greatest presidents that the U.S. has had so far. And you'll see people from both sides that will say this. Conservatives and liberals both agree about this, okay? And I do think that RFK Jr., in his own way, he's going to continue on that legacy. He's going to, you know, going forward into the future. And we'll take a look now. We'll see what's happening in modern day. Okay, we're going to skip to that part of his chart right now. Okay, let's take a look at 2024. Now, as you know, RFK Jr. ran for president in the 2024 elections. He ran as an independent. He had been a lifelong Democrat and then left in 2023 to become an independent. Okay, now in 2024, as you can see, he was having an 8 personal year. Okay, remember, the personal year number is how you experience the energy of the year from the outside and everything that's coming at you from the outside. And 8 is the number of power, and it's the number of resources and abundance and suddenly having a harvest and a victory, right? And what's interesting is that he had been written off by the world, by the mainstream world, up until 2024, right? Where you have the mainstream media attacking him and calling him crazy and ignoring him like he didn't exist. And but then in 2024, he started to gain some traction, right? You see him going on to podcasts and on, you being interviewed by all these podcasters and gaining traction. Now suddenly people were taking him seriously. And you see a lot of people coming around saying that they wanted to vote for him. And he was becoming a viable third-party candidate, which is rare in a U.S. election, right? And he eventually ended up dropping out in 2024. He dropped out, but it didn't end for him there, because somebody in a powerful position took notice of him, right? And that was President Donald Trump. He endorsed Trump, and then Trump told him that if he won, he would put him in his cabinet, right? He would make him the Secretary of Health and Human Services. And Trump kept his word. He kept his word. And so even though RFK Jr. dropped out in 2024 with it being an 8 personal year, that wasn't the ending for him. Okay, so instead of just fading into obscurity, we see his status increasing as the future Secretary of Health and Human Services. Now, it's also interesting that he was having a 2 essence as well, okay? And the essence is how you experience the energy of the year from the inside and how it's like an internal feeling. And 2 is the number of collaborations and working with other people, setting your differences aside to work for the common good of all. And it's the peacemaker energy. And he's in a 2 pinnacle right now, which he moved into in 2008. So him collaborating and partnering with Trump in 2024 makes perfect sense with the 2 essence and the 8 personal year inside of the 2 pinnacle. Now moving forward into 2025, we still see RFKJ in the 2 essence, the energy of collaboration. But from the outside, he's experiencing the 9 energy in a 9 personal year. Okay, and remember what I said about 9. 9 is the number of endings, and it's a humanitarian energy. So what I see happening for him this year is him bringing endings to a lot of things that need to be brought endings to. Okay, we're going to see him closing up shop and shutting down a lot of really bad things that have been happening within the FDA, and that's the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. So what that means is that this is the end of the road for Big Pharma and a lot of the food companies too. Okay, they've been getting away with a lot of bad things, a lot of evil things that they have been doing to this country for many, many years. And this is kind of when it all comes to an end. Now, I think this will be a process. Okay, I don't think it's all going to come to an end this year, but I think this is the beginning of the end for them, where they're really going to have to clean up a lot of things, okay? And there's going to have to be a lot of research that has done into some of these vaccines that are very questionable. More research will have to be done into them. And a lot of the chemicals and chemicals and junk that is allowed to be put into food, that's going to come to an end starting this year. This is a humanitarian issue, It's bipartisan. It's something that affects people from both sides, and it will help everybody. And so for that reason, it is blessed by the universe. And this is part of his mission as a leader in the new earth. 9 is a number of evolution and helping the world to evolve. And so he's bringing endings and he's bringing evolution to the world in 2025. We cannot evolve into new earth if everybody is damaged on a cellular level. So we cannot evolve unless RFK Jr. completes his mission, right? This is his mission, and he has to do it in order for us to evolve into new earth. It's so important that it's being protected by the universe at this time. Okay, so that starts this year during his 9 personal year in 2025. And by the way, what's interesting is that a lot of this stuff is banned in other countries, right? A lot of the junk and the additives and the chemicals and the plastics in the food and in the water and the fluoride that's in the water has been banned in other countries, but not in the US. What's even more crazy is that a lot of these companies that are poisoning us in the US, they have healthy variations in other countries. So if you go to other countries, you get the healthy version, but here in the US, you get the poison version, okay? Is that really fair? I don't think so, okay? We're gonna see the end of it starting this year in 2025. Now moving forward to 2028, because a lot of you want to know if he's going to run for president, right? And in 2028, we have the US presidential elections. And if you take a look at the numbers we have a 1 essence, okay? 1 is the number of leadership, feeling empowered from the inside and wanting to take a leadership type of position, okay? And then on the outside, we have a 3 personal year, which is being in the public. It can feel very, you're feeling like you want to connect, you want to express yourself. So doing a lot of public speaking, it can be a very victorious kind of energy, a very busy kind of energy, a lot of multitasking. I could see him running again for president in 2028 based on these energies, 1 and 3. Okay, I could see him throwing his hat in the ring and going for it again. Remember, this is the type of person that, you keep trying to knock him down and he just keeps coming back up again, right? He's like the Terminator, where it's like you just can't get rid of him, right? And in that way, he's kind of like Trump, right? Where they just can't get rid of him. So I could totally see him trying to do that again in 2028. Now, will he win? I mean, this is kind of a long time from now, and of course the energies always change the further out you are, right? So if I was making this prediction closer to 2028, it would probably be more accurate because that's going to be a lot closer to that year than me making this prediction in 2025, okay? But I could totally see him trying again based on these numbers, and maybe even getting further than he did last time, because as you can see, in the following year, 2029, he's having a Master 22 essence, okay? And the Master 22 is the number of building some sort of structure that will withstand the test of time, okay? And so it's a feeling of, I have to do this, I have to build this from the ground up and put a lot of work into it because this is something that's going to affect a lot of people. So, the following year he could be given some more, in a higher position of power, right? This far out, it's just too hard to say if he actually would get elected as the president, but we see a continuation of his power moving forward in 2029. Like we still see him in some sort of position in which he's building and helping the world, right? And he's building some sort of structure the following year in 2029. So he's not going anywhere, right? This is somebody who's not going to be retiring anytime soon. And even if he never becomes a US president, even if he never even tries again, he is still fulfilling his destiny as a leader of New Earth. This is his destiny, and no one can take it away from him. And I don't see him stopping until that mission is completed and he has done 100% whatever he can to continue on the legacy of his father and his uncle, both of them, okay? So, yeah, we're going to see more of RFK Jr. in the future, for sure, for sure. So anyways, Let me know in the comments below what you think of RFK Jr. What are your thoughts about this guy? Let me know if you like him or if you don't like him, and what you think will happen for him in the future in the comments below. And if you like this video, hit the like button and share it with other people, because it really helps to get this information out there when you do that, and we want as many people to get this information as possible, okay? And I also spend a lot of time on these videos for you guys, so thank you so much for all of your support. And if you haven't subscribed already, I would love to have you subscribe and to become part of the family. If you want to book a personal reading with me, you can head on over to my website, starsalignwithcarmen.com. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.